Hi and welcome to a long-awaited part 2 of my Game of the Year's 2000s section. The truth is, not doing a long pause for any other reason than I put my list down and I completely forgot where I put it, and I'm just having a bit of a clear out and a declutter, and I've just come across it. So this is my life. It really is. I write things down by hand. I don't like save them on the phone or anything, because I like to read off a bit of paper, and I also like to adjust and change and things like that. So yeah, I'm a bit old-fashioned to that. So these things do happen when I've got bits of crap everywhere. So I'm having a full declutter. But enough of that. Let's get straight to the list. So we are going to be doing our 2005 to 2009, and then my next episode, I promise it won't be weeks, will list my top 10 and organise them to what I think is the best games of that decade. So yeah, so let's get to it. Because I don't think I've got a great amount of time. So 2005, these, I say 2000s is where, these great franchises, and also the start of some of these great franchises as well. And like I said, this is when I think gaming sort of changed quite a lot to what it is now. So 2005, lots of games. GTA Liberty City Stories, which I think was on the PSP, which was very weird, I think, but was good, because I think that's one which got like Phil Collins in it on a random cameo, I think. So we've got Resident Evil 4, I'll talk about that soon. Devil May Cry 3, Need for Speed Most Wanted, God of War, Guitar Hero, the launch of the Xbox 360, the Nintendo DS in Europe, Shadows of the Colossus, and Sniper Elite started as well. So of these three, of this list, my top three: number 3, Guitar Hero. Yes, that sort of franchise has died, but the fact that, like I said, 2005, and I think the last sort of that series, I think it lasted a good sort of, like, I think about 10-12 years at least, and before they started just milking it for all it's worth. But the original Guitar Hero, and also the later ones, like I think Guitar Hero 3, was a massive game changer. And the fact that, like I said, you got these people, I think I bought about, over my lifetime, about 2 or 3 of these guitars, and some of them, I forgot which game it was, but there was one which had this sort of like, it was like a deluxe one with like I think it was like a Les Paul copy type, with like a big like metal whammy bar, and it was just like, and you just look like an idiot in this plastic guitar pretending to be proper, but the great tunes and the difficulty, it really was fun, and it was enjoyable, and so you've got to respect the original Guitar Hero, because it was by all means, a silly plastic peripheral, but it was so much damn fun. Number 2, I'm ignoring the original God of War, because I never played that original trilogy, and I think there were some spin-offs on the PSP as well. And like I said, I've seen clips and things like that, but it wasn't really my play style at the time, so I sort of didn't really come across that. So yeah, my number 2 is Need for Speed Most Wanted. Absolutely love that game, and it was yeah, very interesting mechanics, because it sort of like changed you know, from that Underground series and just added a bit more, you know, with the cops chasing you and the things like that, and yeah, and it added to the drama with the awesome soundtracks as well, you know. So yeah, that was when these games were damn good. So, and number 1 has to be for me, Resident Evil 4. At the moment, I've not played the remake, but I might not be for a while anyway, because I'm probably going to be selling a PS5 because of financial things. But I will at one stage get around to playing it, but we shall see. So yeah, what can I say about the original Resident Evil 4? Campy, over the top, but the over the canyon over the camera over the shoulder style was at the time, like 2005, you know, when you sort of had these sort of, you know, other games like you know, Gears of War and stuff like that. Yeah, this made it very visceral with the combat, and even though this is more actiony than the traditional Resident Evils, and had ridiculous characters, and you know, and all, you know, old sort of, you know, I mean, that Ashley character, you know, is like, it was interesting at the time with the graphical, you know, of like the GameCube, that they, you know, it looks so damn good and it still holds up, even before the remake, you know, the remaster, it's still playable because the combat's very tight, and everything's at a good pace and it's challenging, but it's yeah, got the puzzles as well, and also, like you said, you know, the fact that you know, these weren't zombies and these were like infected people, and like you said, you know, they dodged out of the way, you know. You had the guy with a chainsaw which added the dread onto it, you know, so you'd hear this chainsaw firing up from like a distance, and then you just hear it sort of like coming closer, and then you're like, yeah. So yeah, so even though it was more action focused, it still added a lot more tension to it, and you know, and yeah, it's still one of my favourites. So that's 8 minutes talking about 1 year, so I better get moving, because 2006, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, Dead Rising, Just Cause, Lost Planet, Saints Row, the original, Resistance Fallen Man, Prey, Nintendo Wii was released on the PS3. So I'll go straight into it. Number 3, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. I think this one is very sort of ignored, because, like I said, it tried something very different, you know, with the aesthetics, with this dark realm, with this sort of like morphing into this wolf character, you know. But I think it nailed what it was trying to do, and yeah, it was a bit more, I'd say, probably emo than it wanted to be. But it's like, yeah, but the characters are still talked about, you know. Is it Midna or something like that, and things like that, and it, you know, and it was really, you know, interesting mechanics, being, you know, able to sort of, you know, very much like the original Ocarina of Time, where you go between, like, you know, younger Link and then the older one, you know, where the world is very different and things like that. I love those sort of games which have that sort of differentiate between them, or different realms and stuff like that. So yeah, So number 3, Twilight Princess. Number 2, Dead Rising. I know it's had, in the future it had more, well, after this it had more misses and hits, but the original Dead Rising, you know, for what it was trying to do, and you know, and the smaller budget I think it had, it was damn fun. You know, the fact that you could pick up anything, eat anything, flipping, you know, you had this. I loved the timer system, and I know in the newer ones they got rid of it because some people didn't like it, and I did hate it because it was very frustrating when you're, you know, trying to do this and it was already challenging enough. But the thing is, when you haven't got deadlines and timers and things like that, you know, it does add, you know, takes away that sort of risk to it. So, you know, because if you know, if you've not got to a certain point and done certain things, you know, and you get to the end of the clock, and you're not on that roof with, you know, such and such, you're not going to get a good ending, you know. So it's like, yeah, it's very very good, and like I said, you know, and doing the silly things, you know, putting things on the zombies' heads and stuff like that, and being very sort of you know, creative in the way you kill these zombies as well. And it was like, you know, and then you've got like even Capcom having you know, jokes on their own thingy with the shop called Jill Sandwiches, which if you're a Resident Evil fan, you'll get that. So yep, and my number 1 has to be, to say you've got games like Just Cause, Dead Rising, you know, original Saints Row is very different to what the good Saints Row, well, the better Saints Row was. Even Lost Planet is a bit of a gem people don't talk about. Number 1 has to be Resistance Fallen Man, because at the time, I think with the graphic, I think that was like the PS3 release title, don't quote me on that, but when you looked at like the graphics and things like that game did blow me away, and yeah, and I think it's a bit of an overlooked gem of a series, because yeah, I love the characters, I love the sort of like, you know, this battlefield on these like, you know, British country roads and stuff like that, you know, and the world they built, the aesthetics and the enemies. I remember like when I think originally got PS3, just like looking at all the, like, you know, all the, after you killed an enemy, looking at all like the cables which keep them alive and stuff like that, and there's the attention to detail on these sort of things, and it was very fascinating for me. And I think it was Insomniac Games which have done pretty well of making quality games, I think. So yeah, that is my number 1. Not enough people talk about that, and it needs to be my number 1. So yeah, still good on time. So 2007 is you've got BioShock, Assassin's Creed, the original, Crackdown, Crisis, Mass Effect, Portal, Jesus, what a year, Rock Band, Skate, Uncharted, Drake's Fortune, the original Witcher, and The Darkness. So, couple, the original Witcher I never played. I did play the second, but it was very different with the combat and I struggled to get into it. Crisis, another, you know, really, well, I didn't have a PC at then, and if it did, it was nowhere as good to deal with that graphically. And I don't think I played that till like later, so it won't be on my list. Original Portal, was very basic, but was very interesting. So my top 3, number 3 got to do Mass Effect. Even though this one is more ropey compared to the second one, which really sort of, used what the first one did and honed it in and made it amazing. And there's things which are annoying, like the Mako and things like that, but the world they were building in the first one, and also the cliffhangers and the decisions you have to make, it sort of set up like this is going to be a great series. And yes, people slate the third one, but until that ending, I think, that was, I did really enjoy it. I'd give it about a good 7. There's a few aspects like putting the objective completion onto forced playing the multiplayer was a bit dumb. Good idea and concept, but you just basically say you have, you're not enjoying the multiplayer games because you're only just grinding just to so you can carry on the solo story. But anyway, that's the third one. So the first one, like I said, even though it was a bit rough and originally was an Xbox exclusive, but later on I did get an Xbox and I did eventually play the series and absolutely loved it. And the decisions you make and the characters, it's all about the characters and the bonds you have. And even though some in the later games might not still be on your team, you still interact with them and things like that, and you still so when you made these decisions and who you sided with, even who you had a relationship with and stuff like that, it was all really well told. So where am I? So number 2 is The Darkness, another overlooked game, but I love the mechanics that this sort of this guy's basically got these like demon left and right monsters who like talk to him, and it's like and this guy is like descending into basically hell to try to I don't know, or New York, one or the other. If you live in New York, I apologise, but yeah. So and it was was it Jackie? I think his name was. But yeah, and it's all about trying to save his girlfriend who was taken by a demon or something like that. I forget. It's been a long time, but the combat, the mechanics and things like that, it was very interesting and very original, and that's what I loved about it. Even though I don't think it's the best game compared to some of these games, I think that what it was trying to do and was very different to the other sort of games around that time. I really enjoyed it, and I don't think it was a very big game, but it was it was what I wanted, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. And also, like I said, having these these demons it was like whipping and then like killing the enemies and ripping the throats, I think, or something like that. It was very satisfying in the combat. So that's my number 2. Number 1 has to be Bioshock. If you know me, I absolutely love the Bioshock series. 3, I have a bit of a mixed opinion on that, but I'll keep that to myself, because one of my friends does not agree with me that I don't like Bioshock Infinite, especially the ending and the DLC. But that's just my opinion, and I'm usually wrong, but oh well. But the original Bioshock, I mean, everyone just talks about that twist, but it's not just a twist. The world they built, the characters, just having these, voice, you know, clips and things like that you sort of pick up. It's you know, and it's all, you know, it's all a very good sort of method of building this world and what happened, you know, how this, like, you know, utopia, you know, this, you know, supposedly, like, you know, communist sort of community where everybody, you know, yeah, there's philosophy in it. It's, you know, and it's basically yeah, extremely fascinating. You know, the world's built, the big daddies, the little sisters, the, you know, the characters, you know, Tenenbaum and Andrew Ryan, which is, even though the end with Fontaine at the fight at the end is a bit of anticlimactic, but, you know, the interactions and the people who sort of, you know, Andrew Ryan is like what I'd say more like a Walt Disney sort of character. He's sort of like this supposedly like suave, you know, intelligent person who's just like thinks he's one step ahead of everybody, and, you know, and yeah, and even when he gets killed, he sort of goes on his own terms, and it's like, yeah, it's not just a one note villain, and I love that. So yeah, so 2007 Bioshock, 2008 we have Left 4 Dead, Dead Space, Big Planet, Mirror's Edge, and Race Driver Grid. I think there was more, but they were sort of the ones which sort of, you know, yeah, I think this one was a bit of a dip, 2008, but I probably am missing things. But yeah, get straight into it. Left 4 Dead, even though, you know, Left 4 Dead 2 is, you know, the iconic game which, you know, changed it all. You know, the original Left 4 Dead, you know, still did a hell of a lot for it, and you've got to respect it. So that's why it's my number 3. I don't think I played a great deal of the original, I can't remember, but like I said, I've got to respect it because I absolutely adore Left 4 Dead 2, and it's a shame that, you know, everybody was wanting that spiritual successor. I forgot to Back 4 Blood, that was it. It was that bad, I nearly forgot the game with it and the title. You know, and it's like, you know, it's a shame that you know, there's not either a remake or, you know, or an actual Left 4 Dead 3, because, you know, people are clamouring for it, and it's like, and a lot of games have taken over that sort of desire for that, like the World War Z series, which of games, which is cool, and even what was it? I forget what it's called now. It's the one when you zombie Nazis and stuff like that. It's going to drive me crazy, but yeah. And the, you know, this like multiplayer sort of, you know, story based, you know, combat, and like I said, Left 4 Dead 2, I played hours and hours and hours of it, even though it was like the same maps, because every time it'd be different, and yeah, and the enemy designs were amazing. So number 2, Mirror's Edge, very unique with its you know, it's first person, you know, and it's all about movement, the parkour skills, the climbing, the, you know, I don't even think you have a weapon. It's all about taking the weapons off them, and just keep him moving, and it's a shame, like you said, that it didn't garner as much fame as it should have, because it was and the second one was a little bit disappointing. It was still interesting, but it lost a bit of its sheen. I think it took a bit too long for a sequel to come through. But the first one, like I said, I remember I think a friend showed me, and I was like, what the hell is this? And it was just so different, and yeah, and even though it has flaws, you know, it was so interesting. It really was. And number one has to be the original Dead Space. Still haven't played the remake, do want to. Even though I'm not a horror guy, you know, the world building they had in this and the enemy types were scary as shit. They really was. And the fact, like I said, you have this unique sort of like limb, you know, you had to shoot the limbs to stop them sort of keep coming, because they just come at you, and yeah, it was, and the combat was cool. Like I said, it wasn't like fast paced, but you know, but the tension was built extremely good in this soundtrack, and also the combat, you know. So yeah, I absolutely love the original Dead Space and 2. I don't know if I played 3 because I just heard bad things about it, but I heard it, you know, it had a lot of EA meddling, which is a shame, but the first one is a classic. And finally, 27 minutes, that was supposed to be a quick one because I need to get moving soon. We have 2009, Batman Arkham Asylum, original Borderlands, Bayonetta, Dragon Age Origins, Just Dance, Infamous, Minecraft, and Prototype. A mission, Dragon's Age Origins, sorry, I don't think I've played. So I absolutely love the Dragon Age series, but I think played Inquisition. Did I play another one? I can't remember. I don't think I did. So, like I said, only because I haven't played it, I can't put this on. But I know a lot of people absolutely love it. I think my brother did, and I think he got me into you know, playing the next you know, Dragon's Age or Dragon Age, I think it is. I don't know why I've pluralised it, I don't know. I do that, my writing's terrible. I'm gonna make a change because I originally put one above the other, but I think I'm gonna change it. So my number 2 is Batman Arkham Asylum. It was my number 1, but for me personally, I wasn't as sort of like engrossed in the combat. For me, like I say, even though I respect the fluid combat and things like that, for me, I couldn't really get into the trilogy of games as much as other people absolutely, you know, fell in love with with the games and that. So yeah, so that was, I'm having that as a number 2 just because I personally not played as much of those games as some of the others, so I can't laud it as my number 1. So number 1 has to be Borderlands. Same thing. I think there's problems and some issues, and the second one is more iconic, but the combat, you know, the core mechanics, you know, and the art style, which at the time was like, what's this weird cartoony shit art style, but it worked. and the ridiculous characters. You know, well, you can't. Well, you've got the badasses and the little people, which we can't call them in the original name because it's offensive now. But yeah, and you had these because you had them like riding on. I don't know if it was the second one, like, but maybe you got some enemies like big bosses like riding on the back of a bullymon and stuff like that, and it's like. And the enemies, you know, were very iconic and very sort of, but it was all about the loot, the combat, and yeah. Even though I'm not a big fan of like all the looter shooters, you know, I think Borderlands always done it very well, and like I said, you know, with different sort of, you know, elemental damages, you know, and it's like, and for me, especially first and second one, Sirens kick ass. just you know, just let it know. But even though, you know, especially like the last Siren, and there was more in the third one, which was a bit bullshittery. We will drop that for now. But yeah, so that's my number 3 for that. So I've talked about 1 and 2. I didn't talk about number 3. Even though it's a game I've not really played, I've watched a ton, and I've probably, you know, seen other people play it, and it fascinates me. But I don't know if I could get into it just of the you know, graphical style and things like that, but you know, the fact that it's inspired a lot of young people into creativity and looking at things very differently. I applaud that, and Minecraft is my number 3. Can't really say much else than that, and the fact that, like I said, you know, this very much, you know, is like my friend absolutely adores Undertale, and the fact that this was, you know, I think it was one person or a small team who sort of had this thing, and then, you know, some of the things they created by accident, like the creepers and stuff like that, you know, and turned into this, you know, biggest selling game series of all time. I think the only thing which is like, I think Tetris or something. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, it was a game changer, and I've got to respect that. So it has to be number 3. So, but number 3 Minecraft, number 2 Arkham Asylum, and number 1 Borderlands. So my next episode, I will be putting them in order, and then making my top 10 from that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will be doing a I will be doing a 2010s, but after that, like I said, I might mention a few games, but you know, because of, you know, I can't make a top 10 list. You know, I could do the first 3 years, but we you know, we shall see. But I might just have an open conversation about the current games and looking back at some of the others. But yeah, so that's for now. I need to get moving. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. And like I said, as I say, even though I don't think anyone listens to my podcast, message me, Denzalist Gaming at gmail.com, or I've got a YouTube channel, Denzalist Gaming. You could put a comment on the video, say I've actually listened to your podcast. I will adore you and buy you a latte if I ever meet you. I don't know, get on a tangent, but yeah. But if you ever got to this, if you've got to the end of this, I salute you, and make it known if you've actually listened to this, other than my brother. He doesn't count, but I do respect him and appreciate him if he has listened to this. I love you, bro, and take care of yourselves. Bye.